Welcome to Voices of Resilience, part of the Iron Sharpening Iron universe, where stories of strength, healing, and hope come to life. I'm your host, Davina Lyons, also known as Mama Lyons, and this space is dedicated to amplifying the voices of those who've turned pain into purpose. Each episode, we dive into real conversations about courage, self-discovery, and rising stronger than ever. So lean in, take a deep breath, and be inspired by the incredible voices of resilience, because every story has the power to heal. Hello and welcome to Voices of Resilience. I'm your host, Davina Lyons, aka Mama Lyons. I'm so grateful that you're here with us today. This show is all about real people, real stories, and the powerful truth that no matter what we've gone through, we can rise, rebuild, and live on purpose. And today's guest embodies that in such a powerful way. I'm honored to welcome Lisa Guice, author, international speaker, and America's #1 purpose, product, and profit strategist. As the CEO of Lisa Guice Global Vision LLC, she partners with CEOs, entrepreneurs, and high achieving leaders to align their business goals with meaningful purpose, innovative product strategies, and profitable growth. But what I love most about Lisa is not just what she does, it's who she is and what she's overcome. Behind the titles and the success is a powerful, resilient story, one that includes pain, pivots, and a decision to stand fully in her purpose and help others do the same. In this episode, we're going to talk about what it really looks like to keep going when life hits hard, how to turn your story into strategy, and why owning your voice is the most profitable thing you could ever do, personally, professionally, and spiritually. So settle in, take a deep breath, and get ready to be encouraged, challenged, and inspired. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I got emotional. I got emotional watching your intro and the video. I'm just so proud of you. Oh my goodness. It was amazing. It was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I am beyond grateful to have you on this platform. When I reached out to you a while back and I said, I have an idea, I want to do this feature called Voices of Resilience, you were the first one to raise your hand and say, I'll do it. And many may have seen this on my YouTube, your video where you tell your story. I'm excited that today you get to tell your story real time and you get to really share even more than just a 3-minute video or a 6-minute video or however much it was. I'm excited that you're here because I know that there are numerous people out there that will benefit from what you have to share. I'm all about really reinforcing the notion that when people are resilient, they can pretty much guide their lives through the toughest of times. And I think today you're going to prove that. So, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I am truly honored that not only that my story resonated with you to the point where you wanted to reach out about it, but also just again, just watching. I've been watching you from the sidelines. Just watching you from the sidelines and just seeing all that you are doing, and what I know you are going to do, and the platform that you are allowing others to actually grow and heal. I really appreciate it. I really, truly do. The more that we step up and the more that we step up and step out for one another, the more that we'll have those who may not feel strong in that moment They'll have something to go to say, oh wow, let me watch this one more time, even though I've already seen it 3 times. Let me watch it again, because every time I see it, I learn something. I take something new away from it. It strengthens me for my season that I'm in now.
Yeah.
So again, I just applaud you. I am so happy, and I'm really grateful and thankful for you.
Thank you. That makes me feel good. Now I'm going to get emotional, and I don't want to get emotional either. I don't ugly cry well, so I honestly, everything you just said is exactly the purpose behind it. I've been called over the years to always try to lift others up. Always, even when I needed lifting,
Hmm.
I always wanted to lift others up. So this is just, but
Confirmation.
it's confirmation. But you know what, Lisa? Sometimes you don't realize you're lifting others up, and that's what you did for me.
Mm.
And I don't want to, I'm not going to get into, I want you to tell your story, but I watched you from the sidelines as well, and I knew you. We have mutual friends that absolutely adore you. Every friend that I have, that I know knows you, all say the same thing. So that's a testament about who you are. You're just an amazing individual as well. And I really, you went through a season that I was, my heart was like, I want to see this sister win. I want her to come through this, and you did. And so
Yes,
that, let's get into that.
yes,
So
yes.
as you reflect on your journey, why don't you just start us where you feel comfortable with, in reflecting what happened, how did you, what caused you to have to be resilient, so to speak.
Yeah. So I'll say, I'm a firm believer that we have always been given the footprints. It's just a matter of if we've been following the footprints. And so when I reflect back, I realized that even as a child, I was being guided. I was being, God was guiding me on my journey. And so I've always been who I am. It
Hmm.
was a matter of me saying, I'll answer the call. And because I was young, of course, you're like, I'm not trying to do that. I don't want to inspire people. I don't want that burden. You go through all those things you tell
Right.
yourself. And
Right.
so I didn't, a lot of times you run from it. And when you run in the wrong direction, right? You're
Hmm.
running in the wrong direction. And so you might get, into some things you shouldn't have been into, and some lessons, some hard lessons that you have to learn because of that. But again, I'll say that I have always felt like I've been covered. I've always felt that I've been protected. And I've always felt like, regardless to what was going on, I always felt that there was something more in me than I even knew. I've always felt that. And so when I reflect back on connecting with that, I'll never forget when or let me just say this, when I truly discovered it is when I turned 30. Believe it or not, 30 years old. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I was kind of sad the couple of weeks before, because I'm thinking, I'm getting ready to leave my 30s. That's so sad, right? I'm getting old. That's what I was saying to myself. I'm getting old. And when I was leaving my 30s, on my birth date, I woke up and literally my life flashed before me. And everything that I had been through, all the abuse I had endured, all the things that people had said to me that had my self-esteem in a certain place, um, it all just came right in front of me. And I'm thinking, this is my birthday. I shouldn't, have to deal with these things today. But I'm so grateful to God that I did, because I sat there and just let it, all the floodgates just come. And for every single thing that I had questioned prior to that, why is this happening to me? Why do people want to make me feel this way? I received the answer for each and every one. And it was almost as if when I opened my eyes on my 30th birthday, it was almost as if my life had been completely explained to me,
Mm.
which I didn't see that coming. And from that point forward, I started walking different. I started talking different, and I started moving different and choosing different. And so, because I realized that if all of this was explained, if this was what was hindering me from walking and being who I was meant to be, now that I had the answer that I had been asking for so many years, I had the answer. I understood that when you show up and you are, someone who has been called, you're not going to have an easy road all the time, but it's about how are you going to handle the road that you've been put on, right? And so I said, you know what? I'm going to show up and show out the best way I know how. I might not get it right every time, but I'm going to make sure that I show up and show out. And
Mhm.
that showing up and showing out meant not just stating the problem, but trying to be a solution to the problem.
Mhm.
We can talk about the
Mhm.
problem all we want, but are you just, you're gonna roll over? What are you gonna do? So
Mhm.
that's kind of the mindset. I started to shift my mindset
Mhm.
and really think from more of a positive perspective about life, even when things would knock me down. Okay, you down. I'm gonna give you 2 days, girl, and then you're gonna have to get back up. What we doing? How we gonna fix it? So just approaching things from that perspective is really what when I reflect back, that's really what stands out to me, that I did a mind shift, and that mind shift required me to actually change my action, change the way that I related to people, the people that I let in, as I like to say, the people that I allowed to sit on my front row. And just because you're not on my front row doesn't mean you're a bad person. That just means that in this season, for this reason, you're not on the front row. You might, but you're still in the theater, so we could still connect. But I had to move like I was called.
Mm. So you identified exactly what you needed to do, and then you made the change.
Hmm.
So not only did you reflect, but you took action based on your reflection, and that's really powerful. And people hear me talk about the framework of rise, and that is exactly what how it starts out with, obviously reflecting, and then once you identify what it is that you need to change, and most times it is the mindset. Makes sense. Now you started walking different, so you took a stand. So you're moving through that framework beautifully. Tell me more in detail about what that looked like. Your Once you identified it, and I love, by the way, I love the whole metaphor or analogy about the front row. I love that. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that really rings true for me because one thing that God talked to me about was the fact that this is your show. This is your show, and in your show, you've been playing small. In your show, you've been playing victim. Like I said, I was wondering why were these things happening to me. So when I realized that, I am the main character in this life, I'm the main character. And because I'm the main character, can I control everything? Absolutely not. But what I can control is the way that I react, the way that I implement, the way that I carry myself.
Mhm.
And also, but more importantly, the way that I think about myself, which was a huge part of what was hindering me, which was the way that I thought about myself. I allowed myself to get stuck in victim mode, where it was they did this to me, this happened to me, and yes, those things, absolutely, the abuse did happen to me, but I had to really just have a big girl conversation one day with myself and just look in the mirror, and I had to say, okay, yep, it happened. So let me ask you this. Are you going to allow them to be the reason that you don't walk into who you're supposed to be, into your purpose? Or are you going to say, that happened, shame on them that
Mhm.
they did it, and
Mhm.
then pick up what you're supposed to pick up from it and help someone else who may be going through it? What are you going to do? So there were a lot of decisions that I personally had to make, and I'm a huge believer that who we choose to be is a decision. It just doesn't, it's not by happenstance, it just doesn't happen. It's a decision. Just like when someone calls you on your cell phone, you have to decide that you want to talk to that person and pick up the phone. It's the same thing with your life. You have to decide that you know what? This is a vision I had of myself, of who I wanted to be. And regardless of what happened or has happened or is happening, I'm going to be this person. It's a
Mm,
decision. And so
mm,
when I started to look at it from the perspective of it being a decision, that's when I started to take back my power. I
that's
started
right.
to realize how powerful um, my decisions were, and that it didn't matter what anyone did to me unless I relinquished the power. Unless I relinquished the power, what they did would have no bearing on who Lisa is and who Lisa will be.
That's powerful. And I want listeners to really key into that. It's like, that's the ultimate in taking responsibility. That is the ultimate. And I believe that people who are very resilient are people who are very responsible with, their experiences and being able to take responsibility for their actions, the role they play in their show, as well as the role that others play. I love that. Right now, my students in my classroom would be doing this. Clocking, miss,
Yeah.
clocking. Love it. That's what the girls do, with me. I
Mm-hmm.
but I get it. You're clocking. I mean, it's really, really powerful. I will say that as you're talking, I did not realize, because I didn't know much of your backstory. I did not realize that you had experienced childhood abuse or trauma. So by the time I met you, you were in that responsible phase. You were in that you'd already done the reflection and done the talk, and you had said, "This is who Lisa Guice is." And I, met the empowered Lisa Guice, the global Lisa Guice, right? So that's a testament to what you're saying. You actually walked your talk, and that's wonderful. So anyway, I don't want to interrupt. Tell me more.
No, I was just in you mentioning that it brought me back to another reflection.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the reflection that it brought me back to was I remember there was a secret that I had been keeping,
Hmm.
and I hadn't told anyone. And I want to say maybe it's been 5 years now that someone approached me to do an interview in an article or in a magazine. And I said, "Oh, okay, yeah." And then after the lady and I had a conversation, I was so moved by her that for whatever great idea I came up with, I felt like that was the space for me to reveal this secret.
Mm,
Yeah, right. And I said, and she was like, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Because I've been carrying it with me, and I know how it has been affecting me because I've been carrying it with me."
mm,
And I said, "I think it's time for me to release it. And I think your magazine is where I want to release it. I know it's good. There's probably going to be some fallout because not a family member knows about this." I said,
mm.
"But I'm choosing to do it this way so that I don't have to hear the little voices talking me out of it, right? All they're going to know is here's the article, here's the magazine, and read it." And that was it was again me taking back my power,
Right.
because that particular incident, I felt so powerless. I was 11 years old when a family friend um, decided he wanted to try to rape me.
Mm-hmm.
And I never told a soul. I never told a soul. In part because I was afraid of him.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he would still come around after that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to still look at him. I had to still look at him interact with my family. It was just a very difficult time. And he would, kind of remind me when he would come around, keep my mouth shut, type of thing. And
Wow. Mhm.
yeah, and I carried that, and you just don't realize the heaviness that you actually put upon yourself when you don't when you don't disclose things like that, regardless of
Absolutely.
what the reaction would have been. And I carried that with me up until, I mean, just think about it. I was 11. Here I
Mhm.
am, a full grown woman, and I was still carrying it. You don't realize how that affects you, the way it comes out. You think you're fine, and then one day you're crying. You don't know why.
That's
It's
right.
and you're thinking, what's wrong with me? Why am I emotional? You don't know what's triggered you. You don't know why it's triggered you. Because in order for you to carry something around for that many years, you have to have put it away somewhere within you,
Mm-hmm.
almost, fooled yourself in trying to forget it, but it's there. And so I started to go through, after that, I started to go through this process where I said, you know what? And this is an analogy that I actually used. I said, I'm a computer. I don't allow my computer to not be cleaned out for 5 years
Mm-hmm.
or for 20 years, right? What would our computers look like if we didn't clean them out for 30 years, right? They
Correct.
wouldn't work.
Right.
So, I said, you know, I have to get this out. I have to get things out that don't belong, that aren't a part of my original DNA when God put me together. The more things I collect along the way, I
Mm-hmm.
am altering. I am willingly altering who I am supposed to be. The
Mm-hmm.
best thing I could do is, just like that recycle bin on your computer, the best thing I could do is dump that thing at least once a week. At
Right.
least,
Right.
sit with yourself once a week and say, okay, what do I need to dump this week? So that I'm not continuously carrying those burdens around, which will impede my progress and growth, and stop me from being what I'm supposed to be for others, or just being what I'm supposed to be for myself. And that's
Yeah.
what was happening. There was a part of me that could not show up for Lisa because at 11 years old, I ended up in agreement. And
Mm-hmm.
I know, of course, I was a minor, so I don't really put that solely on myself. But as I continue to go over in years, I was still in agreement with my perpetrator. I was in agreement
Only
that
from the perspective of you did not share the secret,
that's
but
what I'm
you
referencing.
definitely take no responsibility for the
Oh,
action.
yes. Let's be clear on
Yeah.
that. Thank you
Yeah.
for clarifying that.
No child.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely
You're
not.
not mature enough to know
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely how to
Absolutely not.
handle that. Yes.
Thank you for
And
clarifying that.
yeah,
Because I
absolutely.
don't want to give that impression. I don't want people to think that I'm saying that, because I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, every part of me, when a situation arises,
Hmm.
I always try to look for the lesson,
Absolutely. Hmm.
as well as, if I did have any responsibility, what that responsibility was. And you're right, I had no responsibility to what he did, but as an adult, it just didn't make sense for me to continue to carry that.
I
So
agree. Yeah.
I did it in the biggest way I could think of, which was just put it in a magazine, right?
And how did that go? I'm curious. How did that
Yeah,
go?
my mom was like, um, wait a minute, what? What happened?
Mm, wow.
And she was like, when did this happen? When did, she wanted the whole complete story. And she was upset with me, of course, for not
Saying
sharing it
something.
with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also because my it happened at my aunt's house, and that was someplace that I would frequent. And so, of course, as a mother, she's thinking in her mind, all the times that I was at my aunt's house after that, what did I go through? Could this have been the reason that I was acting this way or that way? It just caught, as a parent, it makes you question, what could I have done better? How come I didn't see it? How come I didn't realize? How, all those different questions you have for
Right.
yourself as a
Right.
parent. And, you don't want your baby to be burdened like that,
Absolutely not.
you
No,
know?
I totally get that. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
in hindsight, we always say it's 2020 vision. So
Mhm.
we could all look back and say what could have happened differently or any of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then when you're dealing with a child, and I know as a middle school teacher, I completely understand how young people process differently. And I too share the similar experience to what you had as a young person, and I talk about it on on other platforms as well. So I personally know exactly how you're
Mm.
feeling. I think I was 11, 12 also. Yeah, so I get it. It's tough. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But speaking of your mother, I know you were very, very close to your mother.
Yeah.
I know that was a loss that you also had to deal with. uh, more recently. I think when I met you, your mom was ill, was in the hospital, and you had been there by her side for quite a long time, and very supportive daughter. So
Yeah.
you definitely showed for your mom for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
That was
yeah,
my best friend. That was my best friend.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. But anyway, so continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you. That was.
No, I was just just she just, of course, again, as a mother, she just, that was really hard for her to digest.
Mhm.
Um, but and I explained to her that the way I did it was how I needed to do it. Because had I not done it that way, to be honest with you, I had to confront it, if you
Mhm.
will. And had
Mhm.
I not done it that bold way, I don't know if I would have done it.
Right. Right.
So I it had to be bold. It had to be ugly, per se. I just
So
had to get it out there, like throw it in the water and just let it go,
and let it go. So
Yeah,
I liken that in my framework. I liken that to taking a stand. That's the stand you took
yeah.
in that situation. That's the stand that you took. And so you made some decisions, and then you obviously reclaimed your power through that
Mhm.
experience. To me, it had to be. How did that feel? I did. Oh, somebody's joining us. What is happening right now? What is going on?
Uh-oh.
Somebody's joining us. I think. I'm
Yeah,
not
looks like
sure.
okay.
Okay. I don't know what's
Um,
happening.
so, it felt freeing. It was almost as if, again, I was cleaning out my recycle bin, and I needed, and the feeling that I had afterwards, it was so freeing. I reckon it back to how I felt when I woke up on my 30th birthday and everything
Mm,
was explained. That
mhm,
feeling, that I'm free. Oh my goodness, I'm finally free. And I felt that way. I felt like I was free. I was finally free. And so it encouraged me, believe it or not, it encouraged me to continue to dig to see, well, is there anything else left? You know, um, I didn't want to just grab everything and throw it out, right? Because you have to be careful when you're um, digging up emotional trauma,
mhm.
physical trauma. You have to be careful that your psyche can handle what you're bringing up. But believe it or not, it actually encouraged me to create a program called Partnering with Your Inner Critic.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like that.
And so, I've always felt, even growing up, I always felt like I had different perspectives on things than others did. And so I said, I believe that this is part of my calling, is the way that I see things, the way that I digest things. I said, I think other people can benefit from this. So I looked back on how that particular incident, how it had me feeling about myself as a child, teenager, growing up, young woman. And I said, instead of running away from it, I needed to partner with it. And so me actually releasing it was me partnering with those feelings, with those emotions, and then leveraging those feelings and those emotions for my next. And that's really what I believe it gave to me. It gave me the power to see my next, accept my next, and walk into my next.
Nice. Okay, you're next. Talk about that.
So my next was, really just pouring into different individuals. I had come across, my daughter was being bullied. And so I immediately recognized all of this, right? And, I had a conversation with her and she disclosed who was bullying her. I went into mama bear mode. I'm not going to lie. Originally, I went into mama bear mode. I
That's
wanted to
right.
go fight the kids, but I said, Lisa, you can't do that.
Can't fight the kids. Can't fight the
Can't do
kids.
that. So
Can't.
I called the vice principal, who I had established a really good relationship with,
Okay.
and she got on board. I told her what was going on. I told her who the perpetrators were, and she immediately, called the parents and had a conference and all of that. And so what I did, because I said, I want to make sure that I didn't just address it from that perspective, that I'm actually tending to what she needed. So I started looking for programs that I could put her in that would help rebuild her self-esteem. And it was so hard to find any programs. Finally, I found one girls program, and I signed her and her cousin up for the girls program. And I became really close with the organizer, and I would give her, you should do this with the girls, you should do that. And one day she turned to me and she goes, you know what? You should start a program. You should really start. You have some amazing ideas. And I was just like, no, I'm not trying to do that. Here, I'm just going to give you the ideas and you can do it. It's not, this is your thing, right? And she was like, no, Lisa, I'm really serious. You should pray on it and, really think about it. So I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I did exactly what she said. I prayed on it, and God was like, yeah. And so I started my first company called Pretty Girl Enterprises, and it focused on building the self-esteem of girls ages 7 to 17.
Nice.
And that was all based on what my daughter had been through. I wanted girls to have a place and a space to go to where they could disclose what they were going through at school, their emotions, and be built up as they were disclosing, right? So I started to I said, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is my calling. And I started running with it. Once we moved here to Arizona, I started running with it. And one of the things that really stands out to me is that the mothers were coming to me, telling me the difference that they were seeing in their daughters. And then they started asking me, are you going to work with women? And I was like, absolutely not. No, I don't want no parts of any adults. No. No, I'm not doing that. So I teamed up. I established a partnership with the Higley Unified School District,
Nice.
where every summer I would go in. I became a certified bully prevention specialist. So I would do a summer camp, teaching them,
Mm.
yeah, to help the girls prevent bullying and to see, how they should handle the bully. I gave them, it was amazing. I really enjoyed that work. But again, as the parents continued to come to me, it became clear that, Lisa, you could pour into the girls as much as you want, but if they're not seeing it in their mothers, or it's not being reiterated at home, it's going to be like a one-off. So that's when I realized my next was to move over into helping women to reach and achieve their dreams so that their daughters would see them as an example. And I created Rain by Example, REIGN, Rain by
Mhm.
Example movement. And so it was encouraged that the mothers just really like, what are your dreams? What are you trying to do? And I started helping women open up their businesses, structure their businesses, make their businesses profitable. And so that's kind of how it all started. But my reflection
Mhm.
is that when I really dug deep, I realized that although Pretty Girl was started for my daughter, that was me going back, lending a hand to my inner child. And that once that was fulfilled, it was time for me to come back in the woman that I was at that time, and to love on her and to help her to go to the next level.
Oh my goodness, I relate in so many ways. I relate to how you one thing morphed into another to another. If you remember, I it was Tribe Authentic Woman for me, then Authentic Me, and then I'm back working with the kiddos, working with the
Mhm.
teens and young adults. It and at the end of the day, I had the same revelation. I am showing up for the me that I was when I was a child, the me I needed. And
Yes,
so it becomes this symbiotic relationship with your
absolutely.
inner child, and you're showing up for the adult as well as the young person at the same time.
Mhm.
Absolutely, I relate. And then there's this, for me there was this aha moment of, okay, I've landed in the right spot. Like right now with the podcasting, with everything I'm doing, I'm like, I'm in this sweet spot where I get to get that message out. I get to help the people I want to help. Where was your sweet spot, Lisa? Where did you wake up and say, "Oh, this is it. I'm here."
You know what? Believe it or not, my sweet spot is right now.
Okay.
right now. It's after battling breast cancer for 2 years, after
Right.
losing my mother, after losing my father. This is my sweet spot. I
Mhm.
have, it's so crazy to say when I'm talking about the loss, right? It's so crazy to say, but I have never been more complete and happy than I am right now.
Mm.
In business, in life, I have never been more happy. And I didn't even like, you know how you don't yearn for a feeling because you don't know of the feeling. After I lost my mom to COVID, I didn't think I didn't know if I was going to come back. Just, mentally, emotionally, that took so much out of me that I really questioned if I was even going to be able to show up for me at some point.
Right. Right.
Um, and so, it was difficult. But what ended up happening is a month after my mom passed from COVID, I was going, grieving her. And then my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer.
Mhm.
So a part of me, the part that I was able to pull together, because I couldn't pull all of me together because I was a wreck, right? But the
Yeah.
part that I was able to pull together to be there for him, to pray with him, to send him scriptures, just encouraging him along the way, it started to become more and more fulfilling for me. And so in helping him, I would just call sometimes and I would say, "How's your day going?" He'd be like, "Oh, today's not a good day." And I'd
Mm.
say, "Okay, well, before we start talking, let me pray,
Yeah.
let's start there first."
Yeah.
And somewhere through the conversation, it was my goal to make him laugh so that he could still feel joy on his journey. And he ended up surviving his lung cancer, and we were so happy about that. And then I'll never forget the day that he called me to tell me that um, they say I now have brain cancer. And I went into, that's okay. Let me pray. We gonna come on now. We beat it once. We're gonna beat it again. Went into my whole little spiel, and then we got off the phone. And then 2 hours later, they called me to tell me that I had breast cancer. I'm looking around like, okay, Ashton Kushner, where are you? Like,
Right.
I'm being punked. This is ha ha this can't be happening.
Right.
But it was happening. It was happening. And my very first thought was, oh my goodness, my mom's not here.
Right.
Because my mother in 2015, she had actually had breast cancer, triple negative breast cancer, which for those of you who aren't aware, when you are triple negative, that means that you don't have any of the organs that they feel are feeding the cancer. You're negative for all of them, which means they're just going to have to try to guess and figure out how to treat you. It's the most aggressive. Um, so she had it, and but during that time, I was with her for every appointment, every chemo treatment. And during her chemo treatments, I had been saying I was going to be an author for 5 years, hadn't written a word. And I said, well, we're at this hospital for 4 hours, 3 times a week. I need to do something, Lord. What is this? What am I supposed to get from this? And he was like, didn't you say you were supposed to be an author? Oh, okay. So I sat by her bedside while she was getting her chemo treatments, and I wrote my first book and became an author, a published author. And it's called You're Just a Quote Away from Your Greatness. And that book, literally, because what I had an up close personal view of was all those people fighting for their lives. And I thought to myself, here they are fighting for their lives. They're fighting for another chance to dream. God has put a dream in you that you've been carrying around for 5 years, and you have not even picked the dream up. How dare you?
Mm.
If I bet you that if you said, "Do you want to switch places with me?" they would. And it was almost that the
Mhm.
gall of you, right? And so I
Mhm.
said, "Okay, I'm going to do it." And so that's the book is structured after that. It's structured from the perspective of not just waiting and not thinking that you have until tomorrow, because tomorrow is not promised to any of us.
Right.
What's been placed in your belly, you need to move on. That's
Mm.
what you need to do. And so I wrote from that perspective, and I cannot tell you the amount of people who have reached out to me and told me that oh my gosh, you have no idea what your book did for me. And even me, when I went through my treatments, I read my own book because I was like, well, wait a minute, let me go back. Because when you write it, it's one thing. When you're observing
Right.
it as a reader, it's something different. So I said, let me go back and see if it's gonna give me a little something,
Yeah.
you know. And
Yeah.
so, um, I really, in that moment of realizing that this is what I was going to have to do, I really appreciate my mother because even though she wasn't there physically, what I realized is she gave me the blueprint.
Right.
She gave me the blueprint, and I am so grateful for that. So when they called me and said, we're going to send you to this doctor, this hospital, this, I said, oh, no, you're not. I'm going to go to this hospital. I want this oncologist. I want this surgeon. I want, I wanted everybody who was on her team because I saw how they treated her and how they treated me as her caretaker and how
Right.
they helped us both through that process. So there was no guesswork of, I hope this doctor knows what they're doing. I hope this hospital is going to pull me. There was none of that. She had left me the blueprint.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a powerful connection that you made. Wow. And then you embarked upon that journey. I remember in the video you did for me, you talked about how you felt you and your dad were going through it, but he didn't make it, but you did.
Yeah. I went
Yeah.
through survivor's remorse.
Right.
I had heard that word, I heard
Yeah.
that word, but I didn't really know what that meant. I really didn't even understand it from the perspective of, well, why do you have remorse? You're here. But I really went into survivor's remorse. And because one of the things that I always prayed for as a child, my mother and father weren't together. And I always prayed that, not necessarily that they would be together. I didn't necessarily want them together, but I just wanted him to show up as the father that I needed him to be. And he never did.
Right.
He
Right.
never did. And I would always be the one to kind of reach out and try to establish the relationship with him. And there would be times when I would get tired of that and say, forget it, I'm not going to call him then, and get mad about it. Um, but you know how they say, fatherless daughters,
Yes.
how that affects you.
Yes.
When I reflect back, it did affect me. It affected who I was as a woman, but it also made it so that I knew what I didn't want in a man, if you will.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah. That's the lemonade right there versus the lemons.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, but you regardless, you always have a desire for your parents to love you a certain way, be a certain way. But it wasn't until that time when we both were fighting cancer together, and that's exactly how we both looked at it, that we were fighting together. Um, it wasn't until that time that we actually were able to just let down all of the walls, all of the judgment. He shared things with me during that time that I know for a fact he had never intended on sharing with me. We had long conversations. He shared his childhood, which he kept very close to the vest,
Hmm.
kept it very close to the vest. He
Hmm.
shared his entire childhood with me. And I'll never forget the day when he decided to do that. We talked for probably about 2 hours, and he went all the way back to when he was like 5 years old. And I'm holding the phone like, is this the guy? Is this the daddy? Who is this person on
Right.
the phone right now? And it
Right.
was almost as if he said to himself, I can trust her. I can trust her with this information. I don't have to be dad right now. I could just be that vulnerable little boy who had to fight and struggle all his life and who didn't feel the love that he deserved. Because I know that she isn't going to hold this against me.
Right.
And I'm telling you, by the end of that conversation, I remember getting off the phone again. It was almost like a purge. The answer to, why isn't my dad here? Why doesn't he call me? Why, all those things, all those questions I had, they were finally answered. And I realized that people can only give you what they have the capacity to give.
That's right.
That was a huge lesson. And so any bitterness that I had over the years towards him, any judgment that I had, it all went away in that one phone call, because I realized he gave what he could. But understanding where he came from, it made complete sense why he did not show up for me. And it's because no one showed up for him. So he
Um,
didn't even know what that looked like.
that's powerful.
He
That's
didn't even
powerful.
know what it looked like.
Absolutely.
But he loved you, Lisa. He loved you the way that he knew how.
That's right.
And
That's
so,
important. Yeah, I need people to really hear that piece of it, because there are some people out there right now that are going to listen to this, and this will be on in forever and ever. And somebody 10 years from now maybe could come across this video, because we are going to be live streamed everywhere. But but it's that it's important to understand, because I know we all get into our own victim mentality or our own, and rightly so. No one needs to minimize your pain. No one needs to say what you went through, you don't have a right to feel some kind of way, because you do.
yeah.
But you also have the responsibility of um, putting it into perspective. Like you said, it's a
Mhm.
choice. It's a choice in how we see things. It's our mindset, our mentality. A lot of it really is a choice.
That's
Now, some people may not be at a stage where they can do that. I know when I finally realized that my mother did the best that she could is when I asked her one time. She was really upset with me about something, and or just upset in general, because my mom kind of stayed in that frame of mind. She wasn't happy with her life, and she was always that way. And I being who I am, couldn't understand it, because
Mhm.
I'm all about personal development, and rah
Yeah.
rah, right, and woo woo. That was not my mother. Trust, that was not my mother. And in fact, she didn't understand, what are you doing? She didn't understand half the time all the things that I was talking about. But I said to her one day, why can't you love me? And I know I blogged about this.
Mm.
And her response was, what is love? What does
Oh.
that look like? I
Mm.
don't think anybody ever loved me. So how would I know how to love you? But I did take care of you. You grew up in a beautiful home. You had the best of everything. You had food. You were clean. Your hair was always perfect. I did everything that I knew to do.
That was her love.
That was her love. And my mom was an amazing housekeeper, home decorator. I mean, I did grow up in a palace. That's just, I used to call it a clean room, because everything had to be clean all the time. But but what I will say is that when I look at that and I look back on it, I had to put in perspective that, and I had to give her flowers. I had to say, you know what? She was a good mother.
Mhm.
She was a good mother who had some issues.
Mhm.
And I was fortunate that at her bedside, as she was passing, I had the opportunity to say those things to her.
Oh, good.
I really did, and I had a chance to tell her how much I really loved her. But she wasn't talking back much, because she wasn't in a state where she could. But she acknowledged, by nodding. And I didn't even realize that she was about to pass away. Like, I was so oblivious that I'm
Yeah.
thinking, she kind of made a face at me at one point when I said, "Oh, I can't wait till you're up and you see how beautiful this home is," because I had put her in a group home, like a hospice group home.
Mhm.
But I was in denial. I
Yeah.
wasn't, I wasn't ready for her to go. I was thinking, now we're gonna fix this. We're gonna patch it up.
Yeah.
But what I was allowed to do is to express my feelings genuinely. And so I, to this day, have such a good feeling inside with respect to that. But the main lesson was, she did do the best she could.
Yes.
She did. And
And
I'm
that's
very
all any of
grateful.
yeah, that's all any of us can be expected to do. I mean, as
Yes,
parents, we're going to make mistakes,
absolutely. Yes.
and it's about what was poured into us. That's why I am such a person who believes in personal development, because the
Right.
more you develop personally, the more that you're able to go back and see things differently. And
Right.
you know, I'm really glad for you that you were able to see her.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't see the
Right.
person they love before
Right.
they pass.
Right.
And for me, that was another pivotal moment. When my mom passed, I was, because I used to always say, "What are your goals?" Because, I miss
Right.
business coach, like, "Come on, let's work on something after you come
Right.
out, sir. Let's do it." And she's like, "I'm just glad I'm here. I
Right.
want to go play cards and games with my ladies." She's like, "What do you leave me alone?"
Calm
And
down.
I did not understand that. Like, who's waking up without goals? Who's
Oh
waking
my
up without,
God.
well, Lisa, that was your journey. But I didn't see it that way. And so I did not realize till after her passing, and it was the day of her service. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to go to this service. I can't do it. And I said, God, I'm gonna need you to give me strength because I think I'm not gonna show up. I'm not gonna go. And I said, I need to know what this is for. What was all this for? And it all came flashing down. He just started giving me downloads, and I was able to see her as a person. I was able to see that even though I was asking her what was her goals, and to me it was like, huh, you don't have any. That wasn't her purpose. That wasn't her calling.
No.
um, that was your calling, Lisa. And so you can't put upon her what your calling is or expect for her life to look the way
Exactly.
yours is going to look. And
Exactly.
so I realized that what her gift to us was that
Mhm.
she was the prime example of what grace looked like.
Yeah.
She gave everybody grace, though even people who did not deserve it, that I would always get on her about and say,
Mhm.
why are you she was like, no,
Mhm.
it's gonna, and so I saw her grace, her mercy, her favor that she had for people. And that's the reason, like, I wear my necklace 555. In the Bible, it represents, every time it's mentioned, it represents either grace, mercy, or favor.
Okay.
um, and she passed on the 5th. It was in the 5th month. It had been 5 years from when she had been sick. I said that, so those are my
Okay.
angel numbers. Those are my angel numbers.
Oh,
And but a part of me felt so, just so guilty for not seeing who she was in her totality before she left here, and not being able to
mm,
appreciate it while she was
mhm,
here.
mhm.
So fast forward to when my dad got sick, and like I explained to you the day that we had that great conversation, I remember getting off the phone with him and understanding that that was God's way of showing me who he was before he left here.
Yes.
So, and I was so grateful.
Mhm.
I just cried. I was so grateful. I said, you know, and I knew at that moment, I knew he probably would not make it. I knew
Mm,
that. But I was going to still stay prayed up. I was still going to, encourage
sure.
him. But I thanked God for showing him to me so that I would not feel that same guilt with him that I felt with my mother, showing him to me before he passed, which allowed me time after that when we would speak, and I was truly able to appreciate the newfound father that I had been introduced to. And we were the closest that we had. I'll tell you this, the relationship that I have been praying for all my life, I finally
You
received with
got
him.
it.
And I'm so grateful and so thankful of the months that I had in that relationship, the love we felt. My dad wasn't a person, he didn't say I love you. He, all that mushy stuff he would always say,
No.
he being mushy, you know. But what I realized is, in him sharing his story with me, I realized because he wasn't shown how to love,
Right.
Lisa, a part of what your job is from this point forward until he's no longer here is to show him how to love,
Right.
show him how you needed to be loved. And
Yeah.
so I would say to him before we would get off the phone, all right, talk to you later. I love you. And if I said it, he'd be like, yeah, I love you too. But he would say it back. Prior to then, he didn't tell me he loved me.
You're right.
He never said it. So
Right.
I knew I had to be the example to him of what love looked like for me, what his love looked like to me, so that
Right.
he could give it to me before he left here. So we were like this. We were like this when he passed. So because of that, it hit me different.
Mhm.
So I think that's where the survivor's remorse came from,
Mhm.
because I kind of felt like, wow, right when I received it, the way that I always prayed for it, it's gone. How is
Mhm.
that possible? Why am I still here and he's not? You know, just all those different questions.
Mhm.
But the truth of the matter is, had it been the other way around and I wasn't here and he was still here, that would have took him out. He would not have been
Mhm.
able to survive that. So,
Right.
you know, in its proper order,
Right.
happened in
Right.
its proper order. Yeah.
Right. No, that's a good point. Yeah, it's and you're a mother. I know that when I think about future now, and I think about emerging as the person that you are now, and stronger, wiser, the mindset. What do you believe that you're passing forward? What is the torch? If you had to personify the torch, what is the torch?
I believe that what I am passing on is, well, a beacon of resiliency.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many people called me while I was going through my battle. They were calling to cheer me up, and they were like, "I can't. I'm so sorry. I called you to cheer you up, and you're cheering me up. This is crazy," you know,
Yeah.
because I was adamant about being joyful during
Mm-hmm.
that time. I was adamant. I was not going to let it beat me down. Whether I survived or not, I was going to walk up out of here with a smile on my face. I was going to walk up
Exactly.
out of here encouraging and empowering. And so I believe that that's part of my legacy. I believe that it is to be a beacon for what resiliency looks like, what it
Mm-hmm.
looks like to stand in whatever it is that you're going through, and you know, face it head on and go through it with a smile, not a phony smile,
Right.
not a phony smile,
Right.
but a smile of, I came here, you know, I came, I saw, I conquered.
Right. 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 Right.
I
Right.
came, I saw, I conquered.
Mm-hmm.
I conquered all that I was supposed to, all that was assigned to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would like to believe that that actually is what my legacy is. That when people look at me, they're like, she is conquering all that is assigned to her. Maybe I need to start conquering what's assigned to me. I can do it. If she can do it after experiencing the losses and the you know, I always say that you know that you are called when the enemy comes after you, starts to come after you at an early age,
Mm-hmm.
because he sees you. For everyone who has low self-esteem or doesn't believe that they are destined, he sees you before you see yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So every bump in the road, if your life has been, oh my gosh, every time I get up, I get knocked back down, I don't know what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
you have a bigger calling, and
Mm-hmm.
you continue to go forward in that. Do not stop, keep going. You are trying to be, or an attempt is being made to distract you, to wear you down so that you do not cross the finish line. But
Mm.
I'm here to say the finish line has been waiting for you. Your name is on that finish line, and you are to keep going.
Purpose, absolutely purpose. Yes, I totally agree with you. You know, you say, "Oh, I've been watching you on the sidelines," and I say, "I know, because I've been in the game for a long time.
Yeah.
I have been doing this for a long time, and every time I even think about sitting down, anytime I ever think about, maybe I'll just live a normal life and go to work, be a nice little teacher, come home, watch some TV,
The
get my
easy
Netflix
life.
on." Yeah. And no shade on anybody that's what you're doing now, because if that's what works for you, then
Yeah.
go for it. But unfortunately, I'm 5 minutes into a TV program and I got an idea. I got to jump on the computer and now I got to write or I got to do something.
Okay.
That's how I'm wired. And that's because we are destined to do what we have to do for a reason. I mean, we just have purpose. This is the bottom line. I believe everyone has purpose, but
Yeah.
it shows up for people in different ways.
Yeah.
For the people who are not there, for the people who don't quite see it, the reason why my heart has been to present Voices of Resilience is because I need people to hear people who've already walked the walk and they're able to speak about it. And you definitely are that person. What are your sort of parting words, or what message do you have for people who just they're not there yet, they don't see it, but maybe they've had some rough experiences, but they haven't had that revelation of resilience yet?
Mhm. I would say, that one of the things that is beneficial to anybody, no matter what stage or space you're at, um, and this is actually one of the techniques that I use in my Partnering with Your Inner Critic program.
Hmm.
We got to do a rooting. We got to do that rooting. We need to go to the root of why you feel how you feel, where that feeling came from, what was the purpose of that initial root to take hold on you because it's holding you back. And then we go into how to leverage that root.
Hmm.
And so I would encourage everyone, if you feel like I'm just lost, I don't know, Lisa, I don't, girl, what are you talking about?
Hmm.
And I don't have a purpose. Okay. Well, let me just tell you this. The fact that you're even here means you do have purpose and
Hmm.
that your purpose has not been fulfilled. So I want to state that. So I would encourage you to go back, trace back through your life. Trace back, go far back as far as you can remember and start tracing. Start writing out things that have happened, the good and the bad and the ugly. Start writing them out. You will start to see the footprints. The footprints will slowly be revealed. And again, I go back to this because I truly, truly believe it.
Hmm.
When you do not, when you do not see yourself, fine, don't see yourself. But you need to recognize that the enemy sees you. He sees you. If you want to know you're great, people are always asking me, how do I know I'm great? Okay, well, let's talk about what you've been through. Let's talk about what you've been through. If there's been no distractions, there's been no destruction. If there's been, let's talk about those things. If
Hmm.
there has been, it's because there's greatness inside of you. There's
Hmm.
greatness inside of all of us. No matter
Hmm.
how big or how small, there's greatness inside of all of us. But you have to water that thing. And if you don't choose to water it, just like any plant in your home, without water, it will die. So it is your, and one of my quotes, one of my famous quotes is, if you do not track your successes, you will only remember your failures.
Mm. Oh yeah, I like that.
And
That's
so,
true. That's true.
yeah, and that is tied to your self esteem. When you
Yeah.
keep replaying the failures and you're just like, then you start to believe because I've had these failures, I'm a failure. That tells me you haven't tracked your successes. So you don't have any
Yeah.
successes to combat the failures.
Yeah.
So that's why the
True.
rooting process and going back, reflecting back is so important. You have the answers. It's just you haven't revealed the answers to yourself.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's why it's so funny because I didn't pay you, but my Right to Rise manual, that's exactly what it's about. The manuscript planner, I help people write their story systematically through my framework for that very reason, because as you go back and you process, not going back to re-injure, but go
Mm-mm.
back and really process and look at those patterns, and you retell your story, what has to come out of that is some revelations that will not only change your life but could change someone else's life. So
Yes.
writing is very much so cathartic and healing to me. um, Journaling, all those things. So I'm spot on with with
We're
your
here. We're
yeah,
here.
we're here because that's how I did it. That's how I've done it.
Hmm.
I have so many journals, and I have people tell me all the time, well, I don't journal. And somebody said once too that I don't want to journal because when I die, that stuff is there and somebody will read it. And I said, well, that's why I put mine in a book and then sell it, and then you can read it.
Yeah.
Because honestly, people do get help. Sometimes people, all they need is to see someone else experience something.
Hmm.
I say all
Hmm.
the time, I don't want to be experiential. I don't have to experience everything to learn from it. I can look at you and say, oh, okay, I don't think I want to do that. Or I think I
Exactly.
do want to do that. And that's what this podcast is about. That's what all of this is about. Personal development doesn't have to just be personal. It is something that community can show up and help with as
Hmm.
well. And I do believe that's a big part of it. So, Lisa, I am so grateful that you took this time out of your schedule, and I know how busy you are as well, to share not only with me but to the listeners. If there's something that someone heard, uh, please reach out. Lisa, what is the way to best reach you? How can we get your first book? Tell us about that.
So the best way to reach me
Or
on
any book, not just your first one, any
yeah,
book.
I on social media, I am Lisa Guice. Guice is Guice. Looks like juice with a G.
Right.
That's me. As far as my first book, I am actually in the process of doing some different things with it. So I had it pulled. Um,
Okay.
I'm going to relaunch it along with others. So one of the things that this podcast has actually encouraged me to do. There's a book I've been holding on to. It's pretty much written. It's been written for maybe about 6 years now, and I
Oh,
have not released it. But yeah, okay. I'm all right. All right, God, I hear you. Yeah, so I will be releasing that, which will continue to help people to move through, their journey and identify themselves. And one of the things that I do want people to understand is, um, as long as you're in the belief that what happened to you, it will hold you back. But
mm,
if you start to shift your perspective and start to realize that what has happened to you isn't for you, it's for someone else, for the
mm,
benefit of someone else,
mm.
that's when you'll see yourself starting to be moved through your personal growth cycle. And seasons, I believe in seasons. I'm in the season of conquering. I'm bringing those along with me. I'm in the season of legacy, hence why I had my Her Legacy brunch and you were there. And I
Yes.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's going to be an annual event.
Yeah.
I'm also in the season of understanding the importance of helping those who are looking to release their dreams. And so grants, God is like, hello, I've been positioning you. You have access to all this money. We need to go ahead and get that out. So I just launched my grant writing. It's not for you to write a grant. It's for you to learn how to write your grant story so that,
Mm.
and it's your winning grant story so that you do actually end up getting the grants that you're applying for. And so I just launched that. I'm only taking 25 people because we're going to be hands on. We're going to write right there in the moment.
Wow.
We're going to map out the story. We're going to write the story. There's different tiers of it. If you just want to write your story and that's all you need, fine. The second tier is if you want to write your grant story and then we actually fill out a grant and submit it, fine. The third one is we do 2 submissions. So it just depends on where you're at and what you want to do. But
Nice.
I have access to so many grants because God has really blessed me in being able to connect with investors as well as different grant programs
Wow.
through my work. So he's like, this is what I want you to do. So this is the season he's moving me into. He's given me a number. And I will admit the number has me shaking in my boots. But that's okay. I'm going to still continue to move forward because it doesn't matter if you're fearful of it, just keep moving. And those who
Yes.
need to be a part of the journey with you to show up and help you, they will become a part of the journey to show up and help you.
Well, you count me in. I'm very interested in that and partnering with you on that and the
Absolutely.
writing workshops. I am so excited for you, Lisa. This is great. And again, if anyone knew the walk that you have walked, the journey that you've had, really, really, I've witnessed it. And I just think you are absolutely amazing. Thank you for gracing our platform. Thank you for being here. Please, listeners, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff you know you're supposed to do. Do it, please do it. And also, please look up Lisa Guice and pay attention because she just gave you the precursor to all of these wonderful things that are to come. So stay in her world as well. And I am sure you will see Lisa back on Iron Sharpening Iron, on our network, on something, Ladies Diary, something. She's going to be back. Trust and believe. I think Battle of the Sexes for sure. That sounds like you
I
got
know,
to
right? When he said that, I was like, huh.
yeah, Battle of the Sexes. That sounds interesting. Listen, we are growing in the Iron Sharpening Iron universe, and I am so glad, as Big Jack Storytime would say right now, you are now a Hall of Famer.
Oh,
So
thank you
thank
so
you so much. hang out. I want to talk to you backstage. Don't go away. But to our listeners, again, like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Next week, I will be back with another guest. Just stay tuned. You'll see it. I'm so excited in the moment right now. I can't think of who that guest is. I'm just going to keep that real. So, so if I'm supposed to tell you right now, I just, but I've got so many lined up, which is very exciting, by the way.
Yes.
Very exciting. So, yeah, we'll be here next week. It will be the Coach's Corner. We
Mhm.
alternate. So the week after that, we'll be back to Voices of Resilience. I want both of those, flavors being shared. The coaching, the educational side, but also we have to hear your stories. We have to know, hey, you too, this too shall pass and you will be stronger. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
again, Lisa, I'm grateful. Thank you so much. All the
Thank
listeners,
you.
thank you. If you're listening to this later as a replay, please still comment. Please still give us some feedback. Okay. All right. With that being said, we're going to sign off, but hang in there, Lisa.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty.
And that's
Bye,
it.
everybody.
Bye bye.